welcome to another Tech Thursdays.
Yep.
We are very excited to have John Scully from Social Edge here with us today. I am personally very excited because I was looking at some of the widgets that you're going to explore, and it seems, I love that it's not for a lot of our Tech Thursday sessions, it's just you have to be on a certain platform for it to be relevant. You have to want to be on that platform. But this is interesting because it's for all different platforms and all different use cases, and I think that's really exciting. So I'm Shannon Abram with the Community Roundtable, and thank you for joining us for another Tech Thursdays. We have John Scully from Social Edge Consulting here with us today. Welcome. I am going to mute myself and turn my video off because of the number of dogs in my house, which is unreasonable. So if you need me, I'm here. I do believe that John has time at the end for Q&A, but if you have any questions for John, just drop them right in the chat, and we will either try to get to them live or we can answer them in the chat. If there's anything we don't get to, we'll send everything to John and then connect everyone via email, so you can follow up directly with John if you'd like. But thank you so much for being here. Thanks to Social Edge for supporting our Tech Thursday series, and I'm really excited to hear this.
Hi, my name is John Scully. I'm a Senior Director in Technology at Social Edge. My role at the company is obviously technology related. I work on various technology initiatives, data migrations, customizations, integrations, working with clients to meet their special needs in custom development. So today I'm going to just show you a couple of integrations and customizations that we've done for a couple different platforms. It is just obviously a sample of our work, but just to obviously highlight some of the capabilities that we have at Social Edge. All right. So a little bit of background on the company. Obviously we do more than just custom development. There's a mission of building online communities across various platforms is pretty much the summary of what we do here. Currently 35 people or so. Through the years, we've worked with 600 plus customers, various sizes, large, small, internal communities, external communities, and we're closely approaching our 10-year anniversary. We have folks throughout the country, international as well, obviously in Canada, as you can see from this map here. I'm personally in New Jersey, as are a couple of my colleagues as well, too. It's just sort of a high level on our client base. Again, 275 or so small, medium business, SMB, 155 enterprise. That's on the internal side. On the external side, 125 SMB and 45 enterprise clients. Okay. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, we support clients throughout the world. And this is just a map of the countries that we've had clients in. Right? Another visual of our verticals that we support. Obviously, when you look at these logos, there's a large variety of clients that we support across multiple verticals. So that's that. As far as our partners go, this is a good list of everything that we work with as far as partners go. Today, I'm going to show a subset of the functionality or the partners that we work with as far as integrations, customizations go, but we can support pretty much everything that's on this list. Again, my focus is really more on the technical services part of the organization, but obviously developing and supporting a community requires a lot of different skill sets, whether it be strategy and UX, obviously community management. We train folks. We have project managers for our projects. Again, obviously there's analytics to community management. Platforms need to be configured. We need to launch and support launches. And obviously gamification is also a big part of our offering. So again, just a picture of some of our services: implementation, growth, UX design, community management. Technical services, as I mentioned earlier, this is sort of my focus area with the data migrations, products integrations, and custom development. Yeah, so we build third-party integrations and new widgets, right? And I'm going to show you a couple of them in a couple of minutes. This is just a nice visual of some of the products that we work with. I'm not going to stop and read all of these, but this is obviously a big list. Okay, so as far as the demo goes, I'm going to show you our work on Igloo, Mosaic widget, our Slack integration, Verint. For Unily, we have a Teams integration. And for Jive, we have a large number of tiles in place for Jive. But today I'm going to show the content tile, which gives a flavor of the capabilities across all our tiles in Jive. All right, so this is Mosaic on Igloo. It's just a big screenshot. It's that, and let me just go to the actual demo site. So this is a real working demo site. And this is the Mosaic widget configured in one of our demo communities. These are stories, and you know, one thing I should mention is this functionality has been replicated across multiple platforms. It was originally built on Jive, migrated to Igloo. We also have a similar widget, if you will, on the Verint platform. And the capabilities are pretty much the same across the platforms. You know, this UI here where you're adding stories, right? So these little quadrants here are essentially stories, right? You can define you know, the format of the widget and how it's displayed and the like. Whether you want to open a new window, and you know, here's where you're titling and putting your image, etc. As in you know, all of our custom components, whether widgets or tiles, you know, we offer a large variety of customizations for your particular theme or the client's particular theme. In the case, we're modifying the colors. This is where you can define categories. In some tiles and widgets, we offer the ability to add custom user-defined custom CSS, HTML, either above the widget or tile or below, sometimes both. In this case, the Mosaic on Igloo, where we're offering the ability to add CSS, HTML above the header. So this UI, again, is similar to many of our other implementations where users can define their custom fonts, whether it be Google fonts or custom fonts, right, size and etc. And you know, again, similar to other implementations and pretty consistent across our offerings. You know, we offer a large set of optimizations or customizations, I should say, configuration changes that the users can make to meet their particular needs, right? So, you know, rounding corners is, believe it or not, people focus on it, right? If your standard in your community is to not show rounded corners, then you would show them, you know, or you can change it to small, round, small, medium, large, etc. So that pretty much sums it up. Again, obviously, from the UI, users would navigate to, you know, the item that's selected. So that's the basic functionality of the Mosaic widget, as you can see here. All right, so that was a high level of Mosaic. Verint on Slack. Again, you know, an integration that is driven by customer needs and requirements defined by the customer, right? So in this case, and I'll show it to you in a second, users, the use case here is users may have support personnel who spend a lot of time in Slack, depending on your organizational structure, or support the community in Verint directly. Sometimes they need to communicate between the two, and basically we're providing an easy way for users who primarily might be in Slack to communicate with users in Verint and vice versa. All right, so this is just sort of a screenshot of how this might look in a mobile view. And actually, I think the best thing to do here is to show you how this might work. Nope, that's not it. Okay, here it is. So again, this is one of our demo environments. We have this Verint integration configured in a wide format, narrow format. This is obviously how this UI would look in a mobile view. So just to kind of demonstrate what might happen here, right? I have a question I can't type right now. I'm in Verint. All right, so here I am, a user in Verint, looking for some help from somebody who monitors, in this case, a Slack channel, right? So as you can see here, this user has asked this question. The user in Slack could answer it, basically, right? So again, use cases, the support personnel might spend a lot of time in their Slack environment or monitor Slack closely, right? So here is my answer, right? And actually what we'll do here is we'll create a group. Let's see. Forget what group it was in. All right, let me see if I can remember what group it was in. So you're seeing the answer here in the channel, but you can also host to a particular group. Here it is. Right, so you can basically provide some comments in a set community or set group within Verint. Right, this is a question. Comments go here. Right, you can also post this in on behalf of somebody else if that's what you needed to do. Right, so yeah, so this is done. Let me take a look at it. Right, so this is again a way for a user in Slack to create content, support users in Verint. Okay, so that's that one. Unily in Teams. So the use case here is users have a lot of content in Unily. This is a situation where the organization isn't using Slack necessarily. They may be using Teams primarily, or a lot of their users might be using Teams. So the idea here is to present valuable Unily content to Teams users in a dashboard. So, and I'll show it to you in a second, but basically the users could, or the administrator could pick from a number of different metadata items associated to content, and we would show the dashboard, and it would look something like this. From here, users could search for content or again, click. Obviously, the important content is intended to be looked at by the users. So users would click on the item that interested them, and then they would see the full content item. So this metadata here again is configurable by the user, and it's just sort of a summary of the content. Obviously, this is not the full article, right? So to show you how this would work, let's do it here. So this is again a dashboard with just a couple of content items. This is the sites in Unily where the user would select where they want content coming from, right? Let's see. So if you wanted to see, I'm looking at this one here, right? Earth Day news. Oh, this one looks interesting. I click on it, and then I would see the full content item, right? So again, a lot of content in Unily. Users want to surface that content in a widely used platform like Teams. So we present a nice dashboard, and users would find the content and then see the details through this UI here. All right, so that's Unily. What's the last one? Oh, the content tile, one of my favorites. The content tile. So it's best to show you the UI to understand how this one works, but basically it's a tile that displays content in a Jive environment. It has, I guess, some personalization capabilities. It's a good way to describe it, where you would show, at least the use case that's been most commonly used with this tile is you want to show content for users with a certain profile field, right? So you would show, a good example is a set of content items for folks that live in the United States that might be different from folks that live in the UK, right? Usually, again, historically, HR departments, as a great example, would have different HR related content for folks in the United States versus some European country or wherever it might be. So you could again use the profile field or a profile field or profile fields to set up your own custom display rules. There's also the ability to configure based on tags, etc. And there's some typical sorting capabilities and things like that, which I'll show in a second. Let's see. Okay, so here's a great example, right? So in this case, these are actually two different tiles. This is the narrow format again, which would be shown in mobile. This is the 2/3 tile. There's also obviously a wide tile in Jive, but basically here there's 4 quadrants where you would have content that's HR related in this case. For HR services, users would see content that's relevant to them, and they would navigate to their calendar. Obviously, the United States would have a different holiday calendar versus folks in another country. Okay, so let me just show a content tile. I think it's right here. Yeah. So this is another example of how this tile could be configured. All right, this is a narrow tile format. Obviously, this would be displayed in mobile. This example quadrant has an image associated to it. These ones over here do not. This UI has tabs. You can set up multiple tabs. Your quadrants for your users. You could have an unlimited number of quadrants and an unlimited number of documents in those quadrants. This could be displayed open as a default, right? These background images and this text up here is customizable, right? So as I was saying earlier, this use case, for this particular user was to show different content based on the country that you live in, right? So you might want to show a different set of content items of folks in the United States versus, Italy, is a great example, right? So let's actually show the config on this one, right? So I have another tab open, but so here are the tabs that I showed earlier, right? Right, so you have a couple of tabs you can use. Here are the countries. Again, for this use case, the user has a number of different countries that they support, or the organization is global in nature. So, and we use, in this case, the country code. Each profile field, each user has a profile field with an ISO country code, and we're using that for filtering purposes. As I illustrated earlier, there are a variable number of quadrants that can be configured. Again, the quadrants are defined by the user, and you could set up your own filter rules or your own tag rules, or you can just add content that you might want to show, right? You know, no filter rules or sorting or anything like that. You know, similar to other implementations, a lot of customizations around the number of content items you can show on a page, you know, how you want to sort, whether it's by last modified date or some other date. This image is, in this case, is not configured here, but it would be this image here that I'm showing there. You could have some advanced logic, what you using and/or logic as far as the filters go. So in this case, I might only want to show this quadrant for users in a certain country, or again, maybe some other profile field like this quadrant of content would only be shown for, say, managers, as a great example. So if you have, you know, users with a certain profile field that indicates them as managers, you can use that fact or that data to filter or show only for those users. You can, I didn't show this earlier, but you can pick content from a certain place in the community or just global in nature. Again, similar to the other integrations that I showed earlier, right? We support custom fonts, basic fonts, Google fonts, custom fonts, right? Different sizes, etc. This tile has its own set of unique customizations. Again, based on the client needs, we would support what's required, right? So, you know, there's a lot of unique variables on this one. And then, similar to other Jive tiles, you can copy the configuration from one instance to another. This is helpful for community managers to very easily create tile instances across the platform, across various spaces and groups. And we've carried this concept to other platforms, notably Verint. We do this, obviously. I showed that earlier. I guess that's it. That is it. So I'll say thank you again. There's a contact email here if you want to send us a note, ask us for some help, whatever you might need. All right, thank you.
And we are back. I am going to stop sharing that. We will send out John's contact information along with the archive in case you didn't grab it off the screen just then. And I have a question, and if anyone else has questions, drop them in the chat now, and we'd love to get to them. Someone had asked in the chat if you integrate with WebEx, and John's answer in the chat was that not yet, but he's familiar with the product. So it sounds like the work you do isn't just the work you've done, that you are open to and interested in working with different platforms, different integrations. Can you talk a little bit about that, how that works?
Yeah, I think the important variable here, and I think WebEx is a good example. You know, if a platform is, I'll say mature, right, as far as its API is concerned, and really that's the key for a lot of these integrations, is if the platform has an API that we can rely on. There are industry standards about how APIs are developed. Some software companies follow them, some don't. Some try to, to be frank, or they don't document very well, or they have features that aren't working right. But for the most part, large, again, mature organizations like Cisco WebEx, would have a reliable API that we could tap into, if you will, and pretty much do what's necessary. So that pretty much sums it up, right? So the examples that I showed today were good examples, right? So we've done Slack, we've done Salesforce integrations. Salesforce has a great API that is widely used, widely known, very reliable. Companies like that are ideal candidates for integrations.
It doesn't look like we have any other questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
No, I'll just say thank you for taking the time to let us speak today. And of course, as you said earlier, share my contact information. If anybody has any other ideas about any customizations they might want to do on their platform or an integration like WebEx, we'd be happy to talk.
And I just, like a personal plug, we did a different session with our members this week with your colleague, Ruth. And it was specifically around UX and accessibility, and community professionals have to wear so many hats that sometimes the more narrow focuses like accessibility, you can't be an expert at everything. And so her session with us was on just optimizing, right? That like most community managers aren't graphic designers, aren't UX experts, and just sort of easy things you can do on any platform to make it's just both more user-friendly for an average user, but also accessible for all users, and things like
it's a
font
difficult
colors.
subject.
Just so to the point that I know Social Edge, I mean, these widgets are amazing, but also she was just incredible. Like, I'm not a community professional, I'm a marketing person, but watching her, I like had this list of like, oh my goodness, I need to like, I just like, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I know that's some of the work that you guys do, and it was just fascinating, just a whole new perspective on something that I had never considered before. So if you are a member and you're watching this, that's archived, and it's really fantastic.
Yeah, accessibility by itself could be a session, right, for hours. And
I mean, or just like a whole consulting engagement around the idea that accessibility is increasingly important, and especially with so much of it was about with a globally dispersed audience. Like, how do you manage, like, it was so interesting to hear about sort of like the cultural differences and the way people use websites, which I had never considered before. And that if you have a global workforce or a global customer audience, like you have to think about that. And I had never thought about it. So it was really fascinating. But thank you for your time today. We will send this archive out tomorrow. Thank you to everyone that joined us. And thank you to Social Edge for your ongoing support and